A few more differences, according to Colley, Hodkinson, and Malcolm, for the two types of learning that we are looking at. Informal learning, learning to preserve the status quo. Conditions should be the way they are. And that is why people are most resistant to change, because they believe things have worked this way for 10, 15, 20, 40 years. Why do you want us to change? The status quo stays the same. In informal learning, learning for resistance and empowerment. People want to be empowered. People want to change their life standards and way of living, and they want to be empowered. They resist the status quo, and those are the ones that come into informal education and learning. Formal learning, pedagogy of transmission and control. The pedagogy, the teaching method is transmission. I know, I tell, I transmit. You gain, you take in, you learn. And it's controlled because you do. The student has to do what I, the teacher in control, want the student to do. Informal learning is learner-centered, and the pedagogy is negotiated. We can see how one wants to learn. Today we can do it this way, some other time we can do it another way. And so the learning style and technique, the pedagogy, is negotiated between the learner and somebody else. It does not have to be a teacher. In formal learning, there are measured outcomes. In informal learning, there are no measured outcomes. You cannot measure because the objectives were not stipulated at the start. And when there are no objectives, you don't know what you're looking for at the end. In formal learning, it is mediated through agents of authority. And the agents of authority, of course, begin with the teacher, the school principal, and in some cases, the parents get involved and they also then act as authority figures. So there will always be somebody in authority who controls formal learning. Informal learning is through learner democracy, what the learners want, what the learners need. So you have a group of 5, 10, 15 people. What do they want? What do they want to learn? What skill are they interested in? And majority wins. And that's how informal learning takes place. Formal learning is fixed and limited time frame. You have fixed. You have a year in class 1, a year in class 2, and a year, unfortunately, is not 12 months. It's about 8 months. So you have to keep in mind, the academic year is not the same as the calendar year, and there is a limited time frame. You have so many days, you have so many hours per day, you're in school from 8 to 1 or 8 to 2, and then what? So you have a fixed and limited time frame to complete the work in. In informal learning, open-ended engagement. There is no fixed time. There are no limits. You don't have to finish and learn this skill in 3 months. If it takes you longer, go ahead, do it. Take the time, but learn the right way. That is important. When people begin to understand that time frames, and when you put these kinds of limitations, and our curriculum writers have written curriculum for 12 months. They have not written curriculum for 8 months of the scholastic or academic year. So there is so much content to teach in so much time, which is not possible to do. It puts pressure on the teacher. It puts pressure on the students. The teacher is flustered. The students are confused. But the material has to be done in that amount of time. Again, I hope you're beginning to understand and see why what people learn informally tends to stay longer than what they learn in formal settings. In formal learning, learning is the main explicit purpose. The explicit, the visible thing is learning. So you've learned, you've got a good diploma degree, you've got a good job, you get a good salary, you lead a good life. That's the end product of formal learning. Informal learning is either of secondary significance or implicit. You are doing it because you failed earlier or you did not catch up in time and you want to catch up now. And so you're trying and you learn in a very implicit manner, and you have nothing to show that you have learned this in an informal setting. Learning is applicable in a range of contexts. Formal learning. In a range of contexts. You can talk to people, you can discuss, you can debate, you can give a speech, you can interact, you can do lots of things. In informal learning is context specific. What you learn is limited to that context. If you're learning driving, that's what it's limited to. If you're learning computer skills, that's what it's limited to. So informal learning is context specific, while formal learning is open to a range of contexts. So, this then brings us to the end of this module on universal literacy and learning. I hope you've begun to understand how we in Pakistan can achieve this, what we need to do to get to universal literacy and education for all our people, not just the young ones, all people, young and old alike.